All right, so we've got timer, we've got audio, we've got video.
Yep.
What are we missing?
Scotch.
All right. The return of Josh Barber and Scotch on this episode of Savor the Burn. Let's rock! Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Savor the Burn podcast. My name is Jonathan. Across the barrel from me is Mr. W2. How do you do?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing all right. One more again. Remind everybody, who is this guy?
We got him to come back.
Yep.
The Josh Barber.
The Josh Barber.
Despite restraining orders.
Recording engineer, songwriter, guitar player extraordinaire from a little band called Idle Airs. Hopefully you've been listening to that on all streaming platforms and checking them out on YouTube. They got a couple videos. What do you got out there?
Yeah, we got 3 singles with 3 videos out, and we've got 2 more singles going to drop, and then the album's out.
The album's out. Yep. And luckily, he was able to bring some pics, video, or it's only photos?
Video, photo.
Excellent. So all that's been added to the video. Well, it's going to be added to the video, and just going to help enhance your experience as we get into these 2 bottles of Oban. We have Oban 14. It's a little used, a little worn for wear, but today it dies an honorable death. And we're getting into this one here, the Oban Distillers Edition.
Yes, and Josh was gracious enough to last trip and tour to the UK. I'm down in Disney World at Epcot, getting ready to do all the things, and I get a text message. You got 1 hour to let me know what you want. Photos incoming. So we got this straight from the distillery, the Oban Distillers Edition. So super excited. I've not gotten into that one. And off air, I was telling you guys that I've had a lot of Scotch, and I know I had a ton of Scotch beforehand, but the one Scotch that was the memorable one that made me go, wait, what was that again?
Yeah.
Was the Oban 14. And so I have always found myself going back to the Oban 14 and just enjoying it. It's a great Highland Scotch. Yep. And, for a wedding gift, Katie got me a bottle of Oban 14 because that was the Scotch that I really, really kind of gravitated towards. And so, I've got a little bit left over from that. And I thought, let's put them side by side and just talk about, the differences. And
we always say it's unfair to compare, but by golly, this time,
when it's from the same distiller,
it's really cool.
It makes sense to compare.
I think it's really cool. I mean, you got the 14 and Distillers Edition, Distillery Edition. I mean, you can't get this anywhere but from the distillery. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
And how cool was it of Miss Katie to get that for you?
Yeah.
As a wedding present, you said?
It was a wedding.
Yeah, you win.
Many moons ago.
And I bet this has no inkling, nothing. Have nothing to do with Anakin Skywalker being burnt to a crisp.
It has nothing to do with Anakin
inside
Skywalker.
of a lava planet. So we're just gonna sweep that one under the rug. That was my evil twin brother who says dumb shit, and you never know what the hell he's gonna say or what kind of trouble he's going to get me into. Yeah. So that said, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Be sure to share this with your fellow whiskey enthusiast friends or Scotch enthusiast friends. Follow along on all your podcast apps of choice. If it's audio only, subscribe, like, share, all the things. Thank you to our Patreons for joining us.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about these? I hope you guys are along for the ride.
Yeah.
Because we're about to have some fun. Are you guys ready to have fun?
I am.
We are.
Well, I'm going to start by, I've got a little bit to read on the Oban 14, and I'll read a little bit, and, definitely jump in whenever, Josh. Because you've been there. We have not been there.
Pass me some glasses here, and I'll get some things poured.
So the Oban 14 comes in at 86 proof. Oban is considered a West Highland Scotch. In 1989, Oban 14-year-old was named one of 6 classic malts representing the Western Highlands region. Oban is one of the smallest whiskey makers in Scotland, and that's key to the character of our products. When expansion isn't an option and the volume we're able to produce is limited, we stand on quality, authenticity, and heritage. And you were saying, they're like right there on the edge of the cliffs and everything.
Oh yeah, the water is right in front of the distillery. Like there's a road, the distillery, and then water.
Yeah. So when you talk about expanding is not an option, there's nowhere for them to go.
They're backed up to a cliff and right in front of water, and then there's just like it's one of the coolest little towns too. It's like there's a pub down the street that a lot of the workers go to after, and there's like really awesome food and coffee shops right there, and it's just such a tiny little cool town. And so like it's right in the heart of where they're at. We stayed at an Airbnb 3 doors down from there.
This smells amazing.
So I copied and pasted down here a small distillery built at the edge of the sea, and that's pretty much what Oban means.
Yeah,
correct?
It's I think Oban's the little bay.
Okay. And that's actually one of their offerings. I think that's kind of their entry level,
the little bay,
low end, the little bay. But it says here, when brothers Hugh and John Stevenson arrived at the frontier of the
Hebrides,
thank you, islands in 1793, they found little more than a natural harbor and windswept view. Here
Pause
they
for bottle pop. Nice.
Here they opened the Oban Brewing Company, their Cowbell Ale being the first production. I did not know that. They actually started as a brewery first and then got into the distillery.
Yeah, there's a photo that I sent you that has one of their first mills.
Nice.
Yeah.
They started distilling whiskey the following year. Okay, so a whole year brewery, then migrated over to distillery.
I think we need something stronger, Captain.
The business remained in the Stevenson's family for 3 generations until local merchant Peter Comstai purchased it in 1830.
God, I hope they were not watching that.
Tag them.
In 1880, the railroad steamed into Oban, inaugurating a new age of improved communication and transport. The distillery has changed ownership over the years and witnessed a bustling town grow up around it. Our fierce commitment to excellence and tradition has been constant. I think that's kind of a trend is, distillery, family, and as production kind of ramps up, town builds around it. And okay, so what do we have here so I don't lose track of that?
In the front is the 14.
14.
In the back is distillery or Distillers Edition. And you can kind of tell a little bit of a difference. There's the 14 is a little bit lighter.
And these are 86.
Just a touch.
These are both 86 proof, by the way. So proof is the same.
Yeah.
Our Oban 14 says flavors of orange peel, smoke, sea salt, and honey distinguish this full-bodied Highland
Big time
malt.
honey. It's like mead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whoops.
There it is.
I get like apples,
Yes.
like a red fruit of some sort.
I'd say apple and maybe a hint of pear.
Yeah.
Maybe even apricot, actually.
Yeah. I think I can go
It
with.
is.
I personally think apricot probably
I'll
feels
go
better on that.
Apple and apricot, yeah. Yeah, the Distillers Edition's just a hint darker.
There's the hint. Yeah, there's a little bit more smoke on this one.
Yeah,
But it's still super honey forward.
Yeah, you get a little bit of a brine with that smoke.
This one I will say is much more citrus and apple-y. I definitely feel apple on this. And
Yep.
there's some
and citrus.
spice, some sort of spice in that.
Like nutmeg, like baking spice, not cooking
Yeah,
spice.
The Distiller Edition says that it has a second maturation in Mattia Fino casks. Did I
So
get that
sherry.
right? So sherry, yeah.
Yeah.
Develops luxurious flavors of butterscotch, toffee, and caramel with a backbone of sea salt and smoky sweet finish.
And I can see of course the sea salt, it's right there. Like that
How
kind
do you
of,
miss that?
yeah, it's kind of that space sidey thing, but it's still Highland,
I wonder, and you probably know this. I know that Rogue Spirits in Oregon, that distillery is right there by the seashore, and not all of their barrels, but they set a lot of their barrels on the outside of the rick house so that it's right there against the wind that's coming right off the sea.
Yeah.
And you can very, very distinctly taste and smell the sea salt right on their whiskeys.
Yeah.
I would assume probably a lot of the distilleries do something similar, or their rick houses. It's not like they're airtight or anything. So that
unless
wind's
you're mixers.
Unless you're mixers and
you got
temperature controlling everything.
14-inch thick walls in Springfield or wherever that was.
Jeez.
All right, so let's get our first sip on the
14?
on the Oban 14.
Cheers,
genitals.
Cheers.
And obviously, that's not a fresh cracked bottle, so it's breathed for a
it's
little
like a body
bit now.
pour.
But
That honey mead carries through.
there's a little bit of tobacco on the tail end of that palate.
Yeah, there's like a bitter kind of bitterness to it, which tobacco would be like kind of like wood tannins.
Yeah. That's so nice, though.
Yeah, it's a great Scotch.
Great Scotch.
I would say the finish is kind of medium short.
The body in general is pretty medium on this.
Everything just kind of tapers off and let you go about your business.
Yeah, it's not a long.
I think that's kind of typical of Speyside and Highland Scotches.
Speyside for sure. Well, no, man, some Speysides like Talisker. I felt like that one can linger. But yeah, Highlands I think are pretty quick in general, unless you get up into like a smokier version, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it all depends on how long it's been in there, and like when you got more color on it, that flavor is going to sit a little bit longer. This, you're going to get more of the grain because it's not as, 14 is up there, but it's not a young Scotch by any means, but you can still get grain out of it. Like I can taste the malt.
And these are single malt, by the way.
Yeah, that malt that's in there.
There's a nice malt flavor to that.
Yeah.
Palate though, I got honey mead. There's malt. What else are we picking up on the palate?
I get like wood tannins.
Wood tannins, tobacco.
Oh, so those weren't on the finish.
I think it's late palate.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least the tobacco for me was late palate, but it was still palate.
Yeah.
And then on the finish, we said it was medium short, slightly sweet.
Medium's a good way to. It doesn't it's not super quick, but it's not long by any stretch.
If I had a nickel.
It's not that hot.
No, not at all. No,
It's very smooth for what it is.
it kind of borderlines warm. I mean, it's just nice and easy drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of brine down there on the finish.
Like on the very back end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like bitter smoke.
The tasting notes I did pull on the 14 say on the nose, fresh oranges, lemon, and pears with a hint of salt and peat. Palate, dried fig, spice, and smoked malt dryness. Finish, long, smooth, and oaky sweet with a grain of salt.
I'm not getting that long.
I'm not getting long at all. And then I've got, as an additional note, the body full, autumn fruits, sea salt, oak wood.
Autumn fruits.
I think that, the briny thing is that grain of salt thing they're talking about. And maybe because it has been an open bottle for a while, maybe that's why it's a little shorter than what they're talking about.
It's oxidized a little bit.
Now that this has had a chance to breathe a little bit, the Distillers Edition, it almost smells like dark fruit, like plum or
there's a little bit of butterscotch on
something
the nose.
in there.
Yeah.
There's butterscotch in there.
Yeah.
It's a sweet, like kind of syrupy thing.
Yeah.
I get the wood too. Like I get the apple thing again.
Notes here
Yeah,
say
this one here I picked up citrus for sure.
delightfully complex with crushed grapes, orange zest, salt, and smoke.
That's it. That's it. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things on here, and that's all right.
Yeah.
Let's get it on the palate.
Right.
You said this is 86 proof?
That's nice.
That's really smooth.
Really nice.
It's got like a toffee kind of thing to it.
Very much so.
Like caramel, like
caramel, toffee. But I mean, I can almost taste the chewy, stringy, stretchy caramel.
It's way smoother than the 14.
Yeah. A little bit warmer though, too.
Yeah. But man, this is an easy drink.
The finish here definitely is longer.
Warm and sweet.
I get like a jalapeno-y kind of thing. Am I crazy?
No, I can kind of see that.
Sometimes, man, that shows up. It shows up. And none of the... So, some scotches, they'll have like an iodine or a Band-Aidy kind of taste. This does not have it, but...
I'm getting specifically
you'll usually pick those
white
up
pepper.
on the eye list.
White pepper?
White pepper on palate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's got a peppery thing, but like I don't think like pepper, like Speyside, like that really spicy peppery thing.
Okay, how about this? On the palate, soft malts, delicate fruits, and wave of brine. Finish, notes of sweetened Jamaican coffee and oak wood.
Jamaican coffee?
I've never
Jamaican
had Jamaican coffee.
Jamaican make coffee, Mom.
And it says body is full and rich, fruit, sea salt, and honey.
The honey for sure. And full body I get.
I'm a big fan of full body. Whiskey. I love you, Jennifer. I love you, Jennifer.
Is there a little bit of maple in there with the honey?
On the tail end?
I'm getting that tobacco again too.
I just
right on the tail end.
It's just that full bodiness. I don't know if it's like so far as that. Like the honey comes through because it's mild, but I think that's that kind of like briny thing. You know,
Yeah.
It's very rich and full. I had this at the Scotch Whiskey Exchange.
Okay.
They had a pour of it there, and then when we went to the distillery, like I pretty much wanted to bail on the tour and just go straight to, because that's all I wanted. I knew what I wanted when I showed up.
So both the bottles that you brought back, and this is kind of the first time I've gotten an international bottle. Well, actually, I guess that's not true. When we did a cruise, I got a couple bottles that I guess technically were international.
And that Weller.
Duty free doesn't count. Gotta go in country, baby.
But on the backside of
That
that,
Weller was imported from somewhere before we bought it.
It was an online purchase though. But yeah, it's got the UK stamp on there. So that means that this is actually an in-country UK release versus, because a lot of the distillers catering to the US market do releases that are specific to the US market.
Yes.
I've got an Oban 15 cask strength sherry finished bottle on the way that was distilled and bottled specific for the US market.
Well, it's like a lot of those travelers, like the Jack Daniel's Traveler Select.
That you can only get in the UK.
Only get in the UK. And then
or the Blanton's. Blanton's has a Japanese only. They have a Europe only. I think the green label is their Europe release. The red and a black label are both Japanese releases, and so.
Well, and even like Dalmore, they have the quintet, the quartet, the trio, the duo that you can only get in duty free. They don't even sell them at the distilleries.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All the variants.
It's Pokemon. You got to catch them all.
So you went to the Oban Distillery, and you said this was in the Highlands.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a Highland distillery. You said it's one of the smallest, I think.
It is the smallest.
The smallest, but yet it's one of the most recognizable Scotch brands out there.
And they don't even keep barrels there at the distillery because it's so small. They have to move them inland a little bit and store them elsewhere with other distilleries because they have nowhere to put it. You know, they have to time their tours around pulling actual product.
Oh, I bet.
To barrel and send it out because you can't even park you have to park and walk up to it. You can't even park on the facility. It's beautiful too. And it was really cold while we were there.
Yeah, if they don't have room to expand, they aren't going to have really room to park.
No, yeah, you can't do anything. It's amazing though. Beautiful location.
When it comes to Distillery Edition, like what do they charge for that?
So
you get all the way over there, you find the bottle. You know, is it ballpark $100 or?
Well, depending on where you get it at the distiller,
I'm sure you got an exchange rate. thing.
Oh yeah. So like American, that's close to 100.
That's 120.
Yeah, 130-ish. So that would be right around 85 pounds, 75 to 85 pounds.
Okay. So
I could look at my phone. I actually have a photo I sent to him.
Yeah.
This was like 90.
The Oban 14, I know, typically here in Kansas City is anywhere from about 80 to 87.
But yeah, actually,
typically.
So I would think this is closer to 140-ish after the conversion.
That sounds about right.
And that doesn't include like import tax, like when you bring it over.
You mean like a tariff?
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that.
Instead, we'll talk about pro wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how that relates to the education system in America.
Well, come to find out, there is a correlation.
There's parallels. Yeah, one of the great things about the distillers, so if you're lucky, and I was not at this point, but the Scotch Whiskey Exchange will actually get allotments of distillers only editions, but it's very small amounts. And that's what's really cool. If you go to Edinburgh in Scotland, you go there, you do a tour, you get 15% off, and then you can get a bottle that you'd have to drive. I think it's a 2.5 hour drive to Oban from Edinburgh. So, but they had it right there.
Nice.
Yeah, the Scotch Whiskey Exchange is one of the coolest places. It's right by the castle in Edinburgh.
Hell yeah, bruh.
Hell
yeah, bruh.
Edinburgh.
Hell yeah, Edinburgh.
So Josh just said poop. That reminded me last night Ms. Katie was working on our treat for our bonus later this week.
That's the wife upstairs.
Yeah, but he said poop and related to
I'm gonna get her into that.
Go for it.
Hey, it's his neck, not ours.
I know.
Spoiler alert, she was making truffles. So she was, rolling them into balls, whatever. And little man, side note,
Leave it alone.
Side note, little man this last week has learned how to get his child-proof lock door open. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of comes and goes as he pleases until he goes to sleep. And so she's down there, she's working, and he was calling for her in the monitor, but her hands are covered in chocolate. See, now you're starting to see where this is going. But anyway, so he came out and he's like, why wouldn't you talk to me through the monitor? And she came around the corner and she just held her hands out like that. And he goes, ew, Mom, is that poop? And she goes, I don't know, smell it. And he kind of went, it smells like chocolate. Oh, well.
What does it taste like?
I used to. Never mind. I don't want to tell that story.
No, we'll edit it out.
This is one of the best distillers editions, in my opinion,
really
that you can get. And I've had quite a few. I've had 11 or so distillers editions.
Nice.
And
if you could pass the bottle, please.
Yeah, I got you. It's really, really well done and really well rounded for something that you're. I'm not gonna fucking shy away from this. One thing that's really cool about distillers.
He's like, wait, what?
What's going on here?
Nothing.
We just got a second pour. Did you want one?
Yeah, Did you try yours yet?
I didn't get a second pour.
Okay, go.
I'll
Go
do
for
that
it.
myself.
Second nose?
I'm a strong, independent man. I can pour my own.
Yeah. It's got tasting
opened up a
notes
little
of
bit.
fucking amazing. And the thing is, Distillers Editions is kind of like, they always use them as their banner, like for the distillery. And a lot of them, in my opinion, fall a little flat to their core line. Like, I had the Lagavulin Distillers Edition. I love Lagavulin. Nothing beats their 16. It's a phenomenal scotch.
That's really interesting.
Their Distillers Edition, their Feischl, whoa. Like, one of the best scotches I've had. This one is in the top 5 of Distillers Editions.
So I know like the Oban 14 is a year-round offering.
I think that's their best in their range.
Do you know their Distillers Editions, do they do that annually? Do they also do that year-round?
I don't have the answer to that. I just know that I have never once, I've been there 3 times now and they always offer it. So I'm assuming it's a top part of their range.
Gotcha. I know the Little Bay is also. Is it called Little Bay?
Yeah, it's called Little Bay.
Yeah, I know that's also an annual or a year-round offering. But yeah, I didn't know if maybe the Distillers Editions, because it's going to vary from year to year, or at least season to season. I didn't know if maybe it's an annual, or maybe it's like Booker's, Jim Beam. They put those out 4 times a year, so you know that there's always a release. Spring, summer, fall, winter. With that,
Well,
if they do something similar,
I think in Scotland, what they do is in May, there's a bunch of festivals that happen around. The Fishile is kind of like a big thing around there. I think that's kind of the best time to go because you're getting close to the Fringe Fest in Edinburgh, which is a big arts festival. And I think a lot of people put stuff out there. Like Lagavulin does a jazz festival on Fishile. And then
they've got a few bottles out that correlate with that.
Yeah, a lot of them you can only get over there.
Yeah.
So and then
because artwork, the boxes and the labels, and
it's
you lost me at jazz. I've never been a big jazz fan.
Well, not all of us can count to 5. So
Jazz Louisiana. Okay, I learned how to count to 4 by listening to Drowning Pool. Thank you very much. 1.
I can only count to 4.
2. He can only after 2, 3. I think that number's 3, 4.
4 is how many scotches I'm going to have here in a second. This is seriously one of the
that's great.
better scotches.
I'm looking forward to really getting into that bottle.
He means finishing.
Right.
That's exactly what I mean.
He wants to get into that bottle, and he wants that bottle to get into him. But before we do that, we're going to get back to counting our numbers and our rating system. How do we rate this, W2?
Well, we have 4 categories.
Yes,
we have nose, palate, finish, bottle presentation. We give each of those categories a 0 to 5 possible scores. We add all those up, giving us a 20 possible, and we divide those by 2 to give us our 1 to 10 rating. We say 1 to 10 just because that's what everyone refers to. Technically, it's 0 to 10. Lord help you if you are a distiller that comes in closer to 0 than
anywhere near 0 to 1. Goodness.
I mean, even that Navigator
in the bathtub.
Navigator clocked in higher than 1.
Clocked in higher than 1.
Truman, we haven't even aired it because it was Truman Reserve. It was just
so. On
the we'll start here with the Oban 14.
The 14
on W2 on nose. What did you give it?
I gave it 3.75.
3.75, dude. I was pretty fucking stoked. I really liked it, so I gave it a 4.75.
I've had a lot of it, so maybe I'm just being tough on it.
Like you're over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not over it, but I'm tough on it.
Sure.
I know that one, so I've probably settled into a 3.75.
How about you, Mr. Josh?
I did 4.5.
4.5?
It's really good. Like, I mean,
it hits you with a wow, so that's at least a 4.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, man. Yeah. How about palate?
I came in at 4.
4 even.
4 even.
Not bad at all, considering it's got honey mead, malt, wood tannins, some tobacco, and some smoke. This sumbitch should be great for easy pours and daily pours, whatever, and maybe a cocktail.
It is, and it was.
Or 10. I bet it was. How about you, Mr. Barber?
I went 4.75. I think it's a great palate. I think as far as Highlands go, it's not as rich as some of them. Like when you think of Dalmore, you think of a lot more malts. You think of a lot more sherry. This one there's a reason Oban's kind of a name for that. It's an introductory Scotch for me when I want to get people into it. Nice.
Finish.
I dropped it back down to 3.75 just because that finish was just nice and short.
Yeah, we said it was like medium short, slightly sweet, a little brine, a little bitter smoke on the ass end of that thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's I was happy with it, so I had it locked in at 4.5. How about you?
4.25.
4.25.
It's good. It's short. I think that bottle specifically, maybe we're at the end of it, and they don't last that long for me, so maybe that's a new taste for me. But in general, a 14. in a Highland, it's not as hot as the younger grains, but it's also doesn't have that flavor of like a 16 to 18 year.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, it loses a little there.
And bottle presentation, which we didn't talk about at all.
We didn't. It comes in a tube. It's just a nice classic bottle. I mean, it's...
What?
It comes in a tube.
It comes in a tube.
But it's got a lot of great information on here. Super small font.
Since it's this tube, it's pretty bland, but it's not bad.
You know what? That tube made it survived. It
survived the shelf
fall
collapse.
Yeah, I see that. Look at that.
Collapse.
You know, this is a pretty... So it survived a collapse. It's barely got a dent. It's pretty bland.
Yeah, I mean, it's straightforward.
The what do they call that? The wood
nice
block.
artwork.
The wood block print.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, the lithograph.
Yeah, and
Lots of
then
information on there.
Little Bay of Caves. It's got a lot of information on the front.
Bay of Caves.
Yeah, it's great. Dude, they even list a couple other distilleries.
And the different regions.
Yeah. So
if you needed another reason to find out the regions, we didn't talk about the regions in total. There's Highland, Lowland, Speyside,
Isla.
Isla and Campbelltown. Is it Campbellton or Campbelltown?
Campbellton.
Campbellton. Yeah.
Campbelltown.
Not my favorite.
And you know what? That is kind of a point. Like, not to get off subject here, but that is kind of a point. Like, when it comes to scotches, it'd be best if you did do a little bit of research on that and figure out what it is that you can expect from each of these different areas of Scotland, because what you will find is those different areas will give you different tastes, different flavors.
I think that's what draws me in is Scotland is not a big country at all, and you've got four or five?
Five.
You have 5 distinct regions that taste alone, smell alone, you can go, yep, that's Isla. Yep, that's Speyside. You can kind of put them where they belong. And so to think of all those differences in that little bitty area is pretty wild.
That's my favorite thing about it is I've become a pretty big Scotch guy and obsessed with it, because when you look at the regions and even within, like, look at Highland, look at this compared to a Dalmore.
Yeah.
Giant separation there. Isla, right next door, you have Ardbeg and Lagavulin. Totally huge.
Very, very different.
And I love bourbon. I think bourbon is great, but bourbon, we have, like, it's not as interesting because it can kind of fall one note, but there are ones that jump out. Michter's jumps out. You think Pinhook, you think Garrison Brothers, you think Leopold Bros, all that stuff. But a mass majority is kind of in the same note, and you have to be really dialed in to those minute changes. Not that they aren't there. They're there, but it's like you're talking 1 to 5% changes, whereas taste an Oban versus any other Scotch, like think of a Dewar's.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yep.
And it's in such a small region.
Or Glen Grant or Bruichladdich.
Yeah. Bruichladdich is like not that far away. Well, I'm sorry, that's on Isla. It's not that far. Bruichladdich not that far away from Lagavulin.
Yeah.
Or Bunnahabhain. Bunnahabhain's not that far away actually from Bruichladdich, and Bruichladdich.
What a fun word to hear.
Bunnahabhain.
I mean, it's almost Swedish, kind of oofta oofta, boingy boingy, oofta oofta.
But yeah, it's really cool. Like, and bourbon's great because it's separation in very small amounts. And it takes maybe that's why I don't like it. I don't have the palate to pick apart like in 5 to 10 percentile percentages. But Scotch, there's such an insane story behind it. In fact, now with the fact that they're going to have to stop using peat, but they're going to be able to maintain the same flavor. How do you do that?
Yeah.
Magic.
But with the bourbon, though, if you think about, a bourbon made in New York versus a bourbon made in California, Texas. Texas has become a hot spot for bourbons right now.
Spot.
There's so much overlap in flavor profiles that the geolocation of those almost doesn't even matter.
No.
At all. I think, your smoke wagon in Las Vegas, Nevada, they scorch the shit out of their barrels.
Aren't they MGP?
They're MGP, but then they get their distillate, they put them in the barrels, and then they put them in the top rows of their ricks, and they just let the
Angel share.
Yeah, they just let the desert just scorch
Beat the
them.
shit out of it.
They don't even turn their barrels. They just let them sit there and cook.
It's dry heat.
Probably only need to let it age for like a third of the time that regular Kentucky swill, because it gets damn cold at night, even when it's stupid hot during the summer days.
Yeah, but if you think about how much distance is in between all these distillers across the U.S. and how similar they all are, and then you go back to Scotland and realize next door neighbors are doing vastly different things.
Well, and this is a hot take, and I'll probably get beat up for it.
Hot take right here.
But bourbon to me is a scientific whiskey. Like everybody's looking at numbers for it, whereas the Scots themselves, it's a very feel thing. So it's wildly different because they're just like, nope, that isn't it. And they keep going. Whereas, we've really figured out manufacturing in the States and been like,
producing.
Hey, Jack Daniels does this. How do we play
Henry Ford.
Yeah.
Got that assembly line.
Mass production.
I love the 5-day work week.
Didn't we get that from unions?
No, we got that from Ford.
That was Ford? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ford.
Piece of shit.
Heard it here first, folks. Hot takes with Josh Barber. How about bottle presentation?
Back on bottle presentation.
W2, what did you give it?
I gave it a 4 1/4.
Okay.
I struggled going any higher than that. I wanted to give it a good solid score because it's a great presentation. There's nothing wrong with it. It's classic.
That's how you get most quality scotches, though. They come in a tube, and they've got
or a box.
Or a box, yeah, and they've got great presentation. You saw when we had Josh over last with the Taliskers, and I mean they had a great storyline going on with their box art, with their labeling and all that.
Yeah, the art bag.
The art bag,
printing inside and out.
Inside and out. How cool is that?
Yeah.
But so I gave it a 5.
Nice.
Just because I'm easy to please. So easy to please. It doesn't take much for me to be happy. Mr. Barber, what was your bottle presentation?
Yeah, it's 4.5. I mean, that's a stock. Like if you don't at least do that, fuck out of here. Like everything between that 0.5 to 5 on the 4.5 needs to be a box. It needs to be some sort of art that pulls it forward to me.
Yeah, and so your final score ended up being a 9 even, which is not bad at all. How about you, Mr. W2?
8.75.
Wow.
Dang.
That happened. Goodness. Yeah, he's got 3s in here.
Okay.
Huh. Well, you know what? I figured it's easy to obtain. It's easy on the palate, and it's always a great pour. We just had one pour. I had one pour. These gentlemen have had several pours over the course of their duration here on planet Earth. But I have no complaints. I really liked it. I would love another one, but I'm just gonna have to run out and get my own bottle now, aren't I? And I will not bring it into existence because it will die a shameful death. That's where bottles go to die. Do you have any final thoughts on this one?
I love my Oban 14.
It's a great Scotch.
It's a great, great Scotch.
If you haven't gotten into Scotch,
apparently my numbers didn't reflect that, but
you're used to it.
Yeah,
you're used to it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like you haven't had really good Scotches or bourbons before.
Yeah,
I think that's
true.
This with your score really proves that this is if you're trying to get into Highlands, this is one of the ones you should try. Period.
I'd agree with that. Now we're going to switch gears over here to the Oban Distillers Edition. Distillery only release.
Yeah.
Holy hot diggity ding dong. And we definitely had a good time with that one. On my notes, I gave it a 4.875. How about you?
I was very tempted to start scribbling out some new numbers because I was feeling so bad, but my numbers did come up. I gave it a solid 4.
4 even? All right. How about you, Mr. Barber?
4.75.
4.75. 4 3/4 is not
Man,
It's not not a difficult score to reach. I mean,
I'm Scrooging it today, I guess.
I might need help counting on my fingers here. Honey mead, smoke, brine, wood, apples, citrus, baking spice, nutmeg, butterscotch, dark fruit. Oh, that's full 10. That's a full 10 different things. And that's just on the nose alone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I got a good high score from me. And what'd you say yours was? A 4 even?
4 even.
Shameful. How about the palate?
I came up some.
You came up some on the palate.
4 1/4.
Ooh.
4 1/4.
That should have been 4 1/2. It really should have been.
That's all right. You know, first impressions are everything around here.
That's why I resisted the urge to scribble new numbers. I'm like, that was my first impression.
For me, this son of a bitch fucking popped. Like, you had everything that was on the nose. It carried over into the palate. I didn't write that down here in the notes, but it did. With the including whatever, now featuring toffee and caramel, white pepper, malt, and brine. I gave it an even 5.
Yeah.
Nice.
The tippity of the tippity top. How about you, Mr. Josh?
I went 4.75. There's always that one Scotch I'm chasing that I've had.
So you're leaving room.
Yeah, I'm always leaving room. I think I'm always going to give a 4.75 for what would be considered a 5. But I've been lucky to have some insanely rare Scotches. So this one, though, as far as Distillers Edition goes and the palate, there's so much going on. And it's amazing.
W2, talk to me about your finish.
As usual, I came back down a little, back down to 4.
Okay, 4 even.
Yep.
Usually on my finish, it looks like I'm sneezing. There's probably half a grunt wheeze. Shit, we're talking about whiskey. My finish was 4.75.
I can take my hand back.
So it did. What? You take your hand back? You got 10 minutes to cut that out. Yeah. So yeah, 4.75 was easy 4 3/4 for me. A lot of the nose and the palate carried over. It was warm and sweet. You picked up a little bit of maple with the honey. I think you brought up the tobacco. I picked up some char, and the brine we all talked about. So that was pretty fun. But we didn't, much like with the Oban 14, we didn't talk about bottle presentation whatsoever.
Yeah. Different color. It's not much different than the Oban 14. No. You know,
it's definitely not.
I mean, it's very, very classic and modern looking.
No fancy art on the inside.
You get like a sticker on the top, I think.
Hey, stickers are fun.
Yeah.
W2 loves stickers.
I love the texture. So I mean, it's a print, but it looks like a texture.
Feel that texture.
Yes.
So
it's delightful.
God, I wish.
Anyway, I kept it the same. 4 1/4.
4 1/4. All right. That's not bad at all. I don't mind that at all. How about you, Mr.
I did 4.5.
All right.
It's really good. I'm used to it. I think I just finished a bottle myself, so maybe that's why it's not getting an insanely high. It's the bitterness on it sometimes I think can be off-putting with Speysides and Highlands. And I think this one falls between those two palettes, and I think that's why I got a 4.5 from me.
My final was 8 1/4.
8 1/4. That's not a bad score.
No.
It's really not a bad score. Mine was 9.8125. 9 13/16.
Excellent.
I just had a 9.375. I mean, I feel like once you get above a 7, you're in a really tight race.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah. If I think back to the end of 2024, we did our top 5 of the year. Those top 5 were within a 1/4 point.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of them.
2 of them were 10s, and then everything else was 9.75 and greater. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
for me,
that top.
This was really good.
Yeah,
as far as
even expanding out to the top 1.5 points.
This
becomes
may end
a
up.
tight race.
This may end up in my top 5 for 2025. But who knows? Do you have any final thoughts on the Distillers Edition?
I loved it. It brought so much new to the table, and the flavors that were there that I was familiar with were dialed up a little bit more. So yeah, great pour.
I wrote down here, this is a pour that will make the trip to Europe worth the TSA shakedown. Everything you'd expect from a Highland Scotch, especially from Oban, but much more.
Yep.
That's what
Thank you again for bringing that back.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again on Savor the Burn. We had good feedback. I'm like, who's that handsome devil? I'm like, oh God, here we go. Here we go. He's married.
Yeah. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, take that, ladies. Dick in the dirt. But yeah. So if you want to know more about Josh, how do they find you on socials?
Primarily at Idle Airs on Instagram and also at The American Josh. That's where I do all my personal and producing stuff. But right now I'm just focusing on the band and touring and
good.
All that stuff.
Very good, very good. I think by the time this comes out, you will have already had your CD release party here in KC at the what do they call it?
The Warehouse.
The Warehouse
on Broadway.
With Norma Jean and a couple other great bands.
It's Double Drag, a band that I've produced. It's more like shoegaze, like hum type of stuff, 90s rock, and then Norma Jean, who's fucking Norma Jean. You know?
Yeah.
So,
fucking Norma Jean.
fucking Norma.
It's like a sore dick.
Yeah.
Can't beat it. All right. So if all of this and everything else sounds good to you, it definitely sounds good to us. Thank you for watching this episode of Savor the Burn. Be sure to hit subscribe and click the bell notification if you're on YouTube to stay up to date on all things Savor the Burn. Go to savortheburn.com, click that drop-down menu, and in the liquor cabinet, you'll find these bottles. I don't think we've done enough Oban to have a
These are our first two.
So you won't find those under featured distilleries, but you'll find it under World, right? World Whiskeys.
Yep.
So
no, these are scotches. So
they'll be in scotches. They got their own category there.
Yeah, and even though because I'm familiar with the 14, we did the 14, and we now have the Distillers Edition. I'm still interested in just picking up the Little Bay offering at some point. It's really good. It's the cheaper offering of all their offerings, but I'm curious. So got to get it. Got to complete the set.
No matter who you are and where you are and what you're drinking and who you're drinking it with, never forget, keep on burning.